Section 406.8b of the National Electrical Code, often referred to as the NEC, addresses the requirements for in-use covers on outdoor receptacles. The core principle is that in-use covers must be installed where the receptacle's location exposes it to weather or environmental conditions that could create a hazardous situation. This requirement aims to protect the electrical connection from moisture, debris, and other elements that could lead to short circuits, ground faults, or other electrical hazards. However, there is a notable exception to this rule. Receptacles that are attended do not require in-use covers. This exception recognizes that when a receptacle is actively supervised, the risk of environmental hazards causing a problem is significantly reduced. The key to understanding this exception lies in the definition of attended. The NEC itself does not provide a formal definition of this term. However, in the context of electrical installations, attended generally means that a person is present and readily available to supervise the use of the receptacle. This supervision implies that the person is aware of the equipment connected to the receptacle and can take immediate action if any problems arise. Let's consider some examples to illustrate the concept of attended receptacles. Imagine a receptacle located on a patio used to power an outdoor grill. If the person using the grill is present and actively monitoring its operation, the receptacle is considered attended. In this scenario, an in-use cover may not be required. Conversely, if the receptacle is located in an exposed area of the yard and is used to power landscape lighting that operates automatically, it would not be considered attended. In this case, an in-use cover would be necessary to protect the receptacle from the elements. Now let's address the specific concern raised about 15 and 20 amp 120 volt receptacles. The NEC requirements for in-use covers apply regardless of the amperage or voltage of the receptacle. The determining factor is whether the receptacle is subject to weather or environmental conditions that could cause a hazardous condition and whether it is attended. An electrical inspector's role is to ensure that electrical installations comply with the NEC and local codes. While an inspector may require in-use covers for outdoor receptacles in certain situations, it is incorrect to claim that all 15 and 20 amp 120 volt outdoor receptacles must have in-use covers, irrespective of whether they are attended. The exception for attended receptacles must be considered. If an inspector insists on in-use covers for all outdoor receptacles, it is important to respectfully discuss the exception outlined in section 406.8b of the NEC. Provide examples of how the receptacles in question are attended and how the presence of a supervisor mitigates the risk of environmental hazards. It's also important to note that local amendments to the NEC may exist. Some jurisdictions may have stricter requirements for in-use covers than the national standard. Check with the local building department or electrical authority to determine if any local amendments apply. To ensure compliance with the NEC and avoid conflicts with electrical inspectors, take these steps. Firstly, carefully assess the location of each outdoor receptacle. Determine whether the receptacle is subject to weather or environmental conditions that could cause a hazardous condition. Secondly, evaluate whether the receptacle is considered attended. Determine if a person is present and readily available to supervise its use. Thirdly, if the receptacle is not attended and is subject to environmental hazards, install an in-use cover that is appropriate for the receptacle's configuration. Fourthly, if the receptacle is attended, be prepared to explain to the inspector how the presence of a supervisor mitigates the risk of environmental hazards. Fifthly, check for any local amendments to the NEC that may affect the requirements for in-use covers. In addition to in-use covers, consider other measures to protect outdoor receptacles from environmental hazards. These include installing weatherproof boxes, using ground fault circuit interrupter or GFCI protection, and ensuring that the receptacles are properly sealed. GFCI protection is particularly important for outdoor receptacles as it helps to prevent electric shock in wet or damp environments. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your outdoor receptacles are installed safely and in compliance with the NEC and local codes. Remember that the primary goal is to protect people and property from electrical hazards. In-use covers are just one tool in a comprehensive approach to electrical safety. It is crucial to understand the NEC requirements and apply them appropriately to each specific situation. Moreover, let's delve deeper into the practical considerations when applying the attended exception. While the NEC doesn't explicitly define attended, the intent is clear. The person supervising the receptacle's use must be capable of responding to any issues that may arise. This implies a level of awareness and understanding of electrical safety principles. For instance, simply being present in the vicinity of the receptacle is not sufficient if the person is unaware of the potential hazards or unable to take appropriate action. The supervisor should be familiar with the equipment connected to the receptacle, its operating characteristics, and any potential warning signs of malfunction. They should also know how to safely disconnect the equipment in case of an emergency. Furthermore, the frequency of supervision is a factor to consider. A receptacle that is used only occasionally may require more frequent monitoring than one that is used continuously. If the receptacle is left unattended for extended periods, the risk of environmental hazards causing a problem increases. In such cases, an in-use cover may be necessary even if the receptacle is considered attended at other times. It's also important to consider the type of equipment connected to the receptacle. Some appliances and tools are more susceptible to environmental damage than others. For example, a power tool with exposed electrical components may be more vulnerable to moisture than a sealed outdoor light fixture. In situations where sensitive equipment is used, extra precautions may be warranted, such as using a more robust in-use cover or providing additional weather protection. In addition to the NEC requirements, manufacturers of electrical equipment often provide specific instructions for installation and use. These instructions may include recommendations for in-use covers or other protective measures. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions to ensure the safe and reliable operation of the equipment. When selecting an in-use cover, choose one that is specifically designed for outdoor use. These covers are typically made of durable, weather-resistant materials and are designed to provide a tight seal around the receptacle. Ensure that the cover is properly installed and that it closes securely when the receptacle is not in use. Regular maintenance is also essential for ensuring the continued effectiveness of in-use covers. Inspect the covers periodically for any signs of damage, such as cracks, tears, or loose fasteners. Replace damaged covers promptly to maintain their protective function. In some cases, it may be necessary to install additional weather protection measures, such as awnings or overhangs, to shield outdoor receptacles from the elements. These measures can help to reduce the exposure to rain, snow, and direct sunlight, prolonging the life of the receptacle and reducing the risk of electrical hazards. When planning an electrical installation, consider the long-term use of the receptacles. Will the receptacles be used frequently or only occasionally? Will they be exposed to harsh weather conditions? Will they be attended or unattended? Answering these questions will help you to determine the appropriate level of protection required and to select the most suitable in-use covers and other safety measures. Moreover, it's worth mentioning that the NEC is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology and best practices. Staying current with the latest edition of the NEC is essential for electrical contractors, inspectors, and anyone involved in electrical installations. The NEC is a complex document, and it can be challenging to interpret some of its provisions. If you have any questions or doubts about the requirements for in-use covers or other electrical safety matters, consult with a qualified electrical contractor or inspector. They can provide expert advice and guidance to ensure that your electrical installations are safe and compliant with the applicable codes. The information provided here is intended for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it's essential to take all necessary precautions to protect yourself and others from harm. Always follow safe work practices and consult with a qualified professional before undertaking any electrical project. In summary, the NEC requires in-use covers for outdoor receptacles that are subject to weather or environmental conditions that could cause a hazardous condition, unless the receptacles are attended. The definition of attended implies that a person is present and readily available to supervise the use of the receptacle. Inspectors may require in-use covers for unattended receptacles, but it is incorrect to claim that all 15 and 20 amp 120 volt outdoor receptacles must have in-use covers, regardless of whether they are attended. Always assess the specific circumstances of each installation and consult with a qualified professional if you have any questions or concerns. And remember, electrical safety is paramount. Furthermore, let's consider some scenarios where the interpretation of attended can be nuanced. Firstly, a construction site presents a unique situation. While workers are generally present, the level of supervision over each individual receptacle may vary. If a receptacle is used for temporary power tools and is directly monitored by the worker using the tool, it could be argued that it is attended. However, if receptacles are scattered throughout the site and not constantly observed, in-use covers are generally recommended. Secondly, consider outdoor events such as festivals or concerts. Temporary power setups are common, and the presence of event staff might lead to a claim of attended receptacles. However, the sheer scale of these events often makes constant supervision of every outlet impractical. Therefore, in-use covers are typically required to protect against weather, accidental damage, and unauthorized use. Thirdly, in residential settings, a homeowner using a receptacle for gardening or holiday lighting might consider it attended. However, if the homeowner leaves the area for an extended period, the receptacle effectively becomes unattended. This highlights the importance of considering the duration of supervision when determining whether an in-use cover is necessary. Fourthly, agricultural settings pose unique challenges due to the presence of moisture, dust, and potential exposure to livestock. While farm workers are often present, the environment demands robust protection for electrical connections. In-use covers are crucial, and additional measures like weatherproof enclosures and regular inspections are highly recommended. Fifthly, marina and dock environments are particularly harsh due to constant exposure to saltwater and humidity. Even if receptacles are used by boat owners, the corrosive environment necessitates the use of in-use covers specifically designed for marine applications. GFCI protection is also essential in these settings. The decision to use an in-use cover should be based on a comprehensive risk assessment. Consider the likelihood of exposure to weather, the potential for accidental damage, the level of supervision, and the consequences of electrical failure. When in doubt, it's always best to err on the side of caution and install an in-use cover. Remember that the cost of an in-use cover is minimal compared to the potential cost of electrical repairs, property damage, or personal injury. Furthermore, it's important to document the rationale behind your decision-making process. If an inspector questions the absence of an in-use cover, having a clear and defensible justification can help to avoid disputes. Provide evidence of how the receptacle is attended, the measures taken to mitigate risks, and any relevant code interpretations. In addition to the points discussed above, consider the specific type of in-use cover required. There are various designs available, each offering different levels of protection and convenience. Some covers are designed to accommodate specific types of plugs or cords, while others offer universal compatibility. Choose a cover that is appropriate for the intended use and that meets the applicable safety standards. Furthermore, ensure that the in-use cover is properly installed and maintained. Follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully and inspect the cover regularly for any signs of damage or wear. Replace damaged covers promptly to ensure continued protection. Regular inspections of all electrical equipment, including receptacles and in-use covers, are essential for maintaining a safe electrical system. Look for signs of corrosion, damage, or loose connections. Address any issues promptly to prevent potential hazards. In conclusion, the decision to use an in-use cover on an outdoor receptacle is not always straightforward. It requires a careful assessment of the specific circumstances and a thorough understanding of the NEC requirements. The attended exception provides some flexibility, but it should be applied judiciously and with a focus on safety. When in doubt, err on the side of caution and install an in-use cover. Always consult with a qualified electrical professional if you have any questions or concerns. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your outdoor receptacles are installed safely and in compliance with the applicable codes, protecting people and property from electrical hazards. It's important to stay informed about changes to the NEC and local electrical codes. Attend training sessions and workshops to enhance your knowledge and skills. Share your expertise with others and promote a culture of electrical safety in your community.